Hi everybody, Stewart A. Swerdlow for Expansions.com.
And Janet Diane Moya Swerdlow along with Stewart A. Swerdlow for Expansions.com.
Yes, and this is our news podcast for the third week in June. Hope everyone had a nice summer solstice and Father's Day week and whatever.
And last year we were in Bosnia.
Yeah, Bosnia.
Summer solstice.
We were buzzing in Bosnia.
We had fun.
And unfortunately, Bosnia has a lot of issues. There's been a moderate earthquake.
Really?
There's been floods. There's been uprisings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there, but we love Bosnia. Let's hope they get it sorted out because we want to go back.
Yeah. So anyway, getting into some minor, well, I don't know if it's minor news or not, but just some interesting news before I get into the real stuff. And that is, according to the National Weather Service, they call, and I quote, there was a bizarre snowstorm in Montana, Utah, and Idaho this week, which they said was quite heavy snow at relatively low elevations, and, you know, it's summertime.
Yeah, but what was the elevation?
It was 6,500 feet, or approximately 2,000 meters.
I don't know.
Like that.
But
yeah.
you know, the thing is this is what I find bizarre about this particular story, is as you know, I'm from Washington State, and I spent many summers.
Oh, I got a story about them.
I have spent many summers up on Mount Rainier.
Yeah.
And when you went up there in July, it was all full of snow.
That's, you know, 14,000 feet.
No, we didn't go 14,000 feet. We went like to Sunrise or Paradise. Those places are about 6,500. So this time of year, you're going to find that. So why they called it bizarre, I don't know.
They said it was bizarre.
I know that, but
I'll tell you why. Because when you went up there, that was residual snow from the winter, where this is new snow for the first day of summer.
No, I was there and it was snowing on me.
What? Well, maybe someone was just pumping soap plates.
Well, maybe it was dandruff. I don't
Could
know.
have been.
But it was snowing on me in July, so.
Well,
anyway, that's just why I'm saying I don't.
Well, I remember being in Yelm in August, and there was snow on the mountain.
Well, it was snow on the mountain all year round, but I'm talking about I was on the mountain in July with it snowing on me. Not at 14,000 feet, but at the Paradise.
Well, because they said
Sunrise.
that this is actually a pattern from the bad winter we had, and they also mentioned in the same article that Lake Superior, right over here, still has icebergs in it.
That doesn't surprise me.
So, well, they are surprised.
Well, they shouldn't be surprised.
Well, you need to write to them and say, hey.
Winter. We were, what, 99% frozen over? Is that right?
Well, the lakes were, I don't know about us.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I was kind of frozen.
Maybe both.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you're a little frigid, but we'll talk about that.
You talk to yourself a lot, don't you?
And also, there have been a lot of earthquakes in Oklahoma.
Yeah, well, that's normal.
Because you know what? Because Oklahoma is not okay. Because apparently, they said in the 60s and 70s and 80s, there was maybe 1 or 2 earthquakes a year. Now, there's like 40 in a week.
Yeah, I think I reported on that story when you were gone.
Well, I wasn't here, so what would I know about that?
Well, you were sitting right here via satellite transmission.
My picture was, I know. But we have to move on because...
let's get to some interesting
stuff. I have a question
for
the listeners and watchers. The watchers, like the alien watchers, you know. People have been reporting to me that they don't see butterflies flying around anymore. And quite honestly, since we had our spring here, I've only seen like a couple.
That's true.
So I'm going to ask all you readers, listeners, viewers, thank you, all you viewers, wherever you live, do you have butterflies? Do you have butterflies there? Are they same amount, not missing? Let me know. I'm curious to know in your area. Make sure you tell me where your area is. What you're seeing with butterflies, so you could do that on the comments when this podcast is posted. Now I have an update, because I think it was last week I talked about the mysterious radar disappearances of the 13 planes over Austria. Yeah. So my Austrian contact recently told me that in Austrian news, they kind of dropped it. They don't want anyone to even discuss it. But in German news, they said that nearby there were US AWAC planes and that they may have been blocking the signal. Some kind of testing of equipment there. And isn't it interesting that there have been reports with that missing Malaysian airline flight that one of the passengers girlfriends who has been on CNN and talked about it said that there were Air Force jets following the plane that they're not reporting. So maybe they bleeped it off of the radar. But now there's a new search area in the southern Indian Ocean, hundreds of kilometers away from where they had been searching, and they're not going to even start looking again until August. Now, I have also been talking about, and this is a kind of an update but also new information, there's been a lot of talk on the internet about a new or future war between Christians and Muslims. Well, and I talked about that, and they said that what's going on in Central Africa, Nigeria, and I didn't even know about this, that there's tensions between the Russian Orthodox Church and the Muslim Turks. That I didn't know. And they said this is starting a new crusade.
Oh, that's the word you've been using.
Yes, but they have left out that these issues between Christians and Muslims is also taking place in Mali, Sudan, Syria, China, etc., and even Iraq, which is my next story because a lot of this is going on. Did you know that over 200,000 Syrians have fled into the Kurdish region of Iraq? That's a lot of people.
I'm learning about that right now. It's very interesting.
And that the civil war in Syria supposedly has claimed over 160,000 lives, and that's a country of less than 10 million people. And in fact, so many are dead that the UN has stopped counting.
Wow.
Now, also reported from the area that this new ISIS group, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, has killed 1,700 Iraqi government soldiers and posted it online how they killed them.
It was very terrible.
And the Syrian Kurds, because the Kurdish people extend from Turkey into Syria, Iraq, and Iran, and the Syrian Kurds say they feel safer in the Iraqi part of Kurdistan, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, and they said it's only a matter of time before Iraq looks like Syria. Well, I think it already does. The positive outcome, this is the important part, the positive is that the Kurdish people see a completely independent Kurdish nation out of the Iraqi part of Kurdistan.
Well, now that is unprecedented.
It's unprecedented is correct. But you know what I found out from someone who came here from Iraq and spoke to us, that the Iraqi soldiers that fled, remember they said they left the weapons? He said that they were told to leave their weapons, that they were, just told, and so that means that they wanted this ISIS group to get these American weapons. And also the city of Kirkuk, I hope I say that right, is claimed by Iraq, but is now controlled by the Kurds and maybe their Kurdish capital. Now, people don't understand what's going on there. Islam is not a cohesive religion, like they don't all believe in the same thing. It's like Christianity, like just as Christianity has Catholics and Protestants, the Islamic religion has Shiites and Sunnis, and they all hate each other just like the Protestants and the Catholics. But in Iraq, it's not just the Sunnis and the Shiites, there's also the Kurds. And so it is believed that Iraq, after this civil war, whatever you want to call it, may split into 3 countries. It may split into Kurdistan in the north, the Sunni Iraq in the central part, and a country called Shia, which is where the Shiites would live in the southern part of Iraq.
And my understanding is Turkey is for this, is that correct?
Well, Turkey is for anything that suits its position. So, see, the Turkish say, well, if the Kurds get a nation in Iraq, then they don't have to give them part of Turkey.
I see.
See, believe me, the Turks have an idea behind this. Also, it's like what we saw in Yugoslavia. When the EU wanted to take over, they broke up Yugoslavia to Croatia and Serbia and Slovenia, and all these countries are now joined the EU, so in effect, it might as well have been Yugoslavia, all under one roof anyway. So that's what we're going to see in Iraq. I think, divide and conquer, break up into pieces, give everyone their little piece of independence, they're all happy, but then control them. So that's what's really going on. You see in the past, Saddam Hussein was a Sunni, and he used to condemn or put down the Kurds and the Shiites. But now the new Iraq government is Shiite and is controlled by Iran. See, Iran, the current Iraqi government is a puppet of Iran. And so that's why the Americans are all breaking everything up. In fact, the Sunnis call the Shiite politicians traitors, American agents, and Iranian puppets.
It reminds me exactly what the Soviet Union did.
Yeah. Now, interesting that you said that, because now I'm going to talk about Russia.
Really?
Yes, I am. Because there's a lot of information. You know what a petrodollar is? The money that they use to buy oil and all that. It's an American dollar used to buy oil by various countries. And there is a group of countries called the BRIC countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China. And now actually they're calling it BRICS because the S, they're putting South Africa in there. Anyway, Russia is trying to destroy the petrodollars by using Iranian oil and gold instead. So if Russia is able to usurp or bypass the petrodollar as a means of payment for Russian energy shipments to Europe, Russia will destroy the United States economically, according to this information. And Russia has brought China into this sphere of influence. Apparently, Europe is almost totally dependent on Putin supplying the gas to Europe through Ukraine. And he's trying to stop that, and this will weaken NATO. It will isolate the United States economically and militarily, and could cause, according to this information, downfall of the United States economy, and some even believe that Russia wants to occupy the United States.
All of that doesn't surprise me, considering what you've been telling us for years and
years. This apparently is all under the jurisdiction of the world central banks, and their need to unify the planet via war, politically, economically, religiously, and of course that's where the staged alien invasion comes in as far as I'm concerned. Apparently, in some parts of Eastern Europe and the world, Putin is developing a cult following, especially in the alternative media, because, according to this, and I quote, he represents a man with the force of conviction to tell international banking where to go and what to do when they get there. But of course, he's really working for them.
Of course.
And he's working for the Bank of International Settlements, which is called BIS, or BIZ, so they're giving him the BIZ. Okay, and according to this, there is a debt that the world governments owe to this BIZ of $1.5 quadrillion.
That's a lot of dollars.
Which is 8 times the value of the entire planet.
Oh my.
Can you imagine
How can they value the planet?
Well, start adding things up,
It's kind of a silly thing.
Of course, they consider this plot to be evil, but brilliant because it will lead to World War III. And if Putin is successful at moving the world away from the dollar, according to this, the, quote, U.S. empire will die.
Interesting.
Now, America has 42% of the world's millionaires. But this would disappear overnight if Putin has his way and the Federal Reserve collapses, which is a private corporation anyway.
Well, my feeling is those 42% of the, did you say billionaires?
Millionaires.
Millionaires. They probably have, residences all over the world. It's not really going to affect them.
Well, I happen to have spoken to some millionaires recently, and a lot of them here in the U.S. are saying they want to get out. They don't care. They want to go any other country but here. So
I'm sure they probably know.
Yeah. Now, back to our area. Did you know that there's an 8-state earthquake drill?
When?
This week, starting tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah. And apparently, get the name of it, Capstone 14. That's the name of a pyramid, capstone. Yeah, so that's very interesting, and it's an exercise of coordination following an earthquake in this area. Which will include post-disaster housing issues, delivery of resources to local governments. That's never going to happen. And beside, the states will be Indiana, Alabama, Arkansas, Illinois, Kentucky, Mississippi, Missouri, Tennessee. They're participating in this drill. So that's the second time in 2 years. Remember last year was called the Great Central U.S. Shakeout Drill?
Yeah.
So I think something about to happen.
Do we have a specific date when that drill is going to happen?
This Monday to Friday, the last week in June.
It's a whole week.
It's a whole week. Yeah, because when a big earthquake happens, they said it's be like over 8.
Right.
It's going to last a long time, the disaster. You know.
Yeah.
Now back to your homeland, Seattle. Well, and this is a news and an update because you remember a few weeks ago I reported, or did I report? About the 6 climbers on Mount Rainier that disappeared.
I can't remember if you actually reported it or we just talked about it.
And they believe they fell to their death. These are experienced climbers, right? Hikers and climbers who knew where they were going, and it was relatively good weather at the time, and they have never found a single shred of them. Vanished off the face of the earth, and now, a few weeks later, this woman, Karen Sykes, who's a Seattle-based hiker, also went missing. Now, the thing is, last night they found the body.
Oh, really? They
found the woman's body. They have not identified it, but her daughter says it was her. She's not officially identified, but the thing is, they found the body in an isolated, remote area where no hikers go, and how could she even get there?
So how'd they even find her then?
I guess through helicopter or something like that. They found her. And guess what? She was working on a story when she disappeared. I wonder what story that was about.
Well, Mount Rainier has a history of all kinds of strange occurrences on it. I mean, this is not
unusual. That's where the first UFOs were seen in 1947.
That's right. And in fact, I actually had, from my first marriage, a cousin who was hiking, an experienced hiker who disappeared on that mountain.
Oh, I remember that.
I never told you.
You never told me? Now, all these years later, you're telling me these things?
He was never
People,
found.
What else don't I know?
A lot of things.
Seriously.
Yeah, but anyway, he was never found. Also, he was younger, in his 30s, and they never found him.
Well, she apparently wrote a lot of stories for the Northwest hiking community. She's been working for online publications. And her friend said, and I quote, "I find it difficult to imagine that she would get lost. I think it's more likely she's injured and waiting perhaps impatiently to be rescued." But that's not what happened.
Wow.
And another friend said, quote, "She's the last person anyone would expect to get lost, particularly on Mount Rainier. If anyone can survive, it's her. She's really tough and really savvy." So something happened to her that, maybe had nothing to do with the mountain itself.
I don't know. My father had told me when he was living with the trance medium in Seattle that she was actually taken there, and they showed her that they would actually shoot bullets at people and it would pass through them and nothing would happen. So there are a lot of strange anomalies on that Rainier.
And Bigfoot has been seen up there.
Many times. So
and a lot of people disappear, don't they?
They do. It's a very strange energy on Mount Rainier.
Yeah, sure. And of course, that's where you came from.
Yes, that's right. The land of
Mount
Oz.
Janet.
Emerald City.
Yeah. Now, here's a story which actually I find hysterical, but it really isn't.
Like in a laughing way?
Like in a laughing way. Because people, how fastidious I am about my travel arrangements. I only want certain airlines, certain routes, and the travel agents really don't know anything, and I have to tell them everything. No offense to traveling, but that's usually, and the airlines are even more brain dead. Well, here is a story of an Australian couple who had saved up for a year to attend the World Cup in Brazil, which was the event they wanted to see was in Salvador, Brazil, which is in the northeast part of Brazil. Well, their travel agent booked them on a flight to El Salvador instead of Salvador, Brazil. Okay, now, the name of the company in Australia is the biggest travel agency called Flight Centre. I used them in Australia, and actually they were quite good. But I used them in Flight Centre, and they sent the couple mistakenly to San Salvador, El Salvador, which is 4,000 miles away from Salvador, Brazil. Now, we were in San Salvador, but did you know that San Salvador is known for its high crime, gang-related violence, and murder rates?
I suspected it while we were there, believe it or not.
I'm so sorry, I had no idea. I thought it was all, la-la and everything now, but, I really put your life in danger.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, but, look what you're doing to me. Anyway.
Only good things.
Yeah, and so the travel agent said, it was a misunderstanding. And they're working with the customers to resolve the issue to ensure they are as happy as possible and ensure that they can enjoy themselves. In other words, they're going to give them a lot of money to shut up, maybe business class tickets home, that's the answer, okay? Remember when we got stuck in Colombia? The travel agent goes, oh, sorry for the misunderstanding, bye-bye, nothing I can do, thanks a lot.
No, they were very kind to us there. Oh, you mean the one that booked us originally?
Yeah, it was like, we're stuck in it, it's like, oh, sorry, bye-bye.
If it wasn't for the Colombian people were very nice to us.
Colombian people, excellent, wonderful people.
They were very nice.
Went out of their way to help us. Okay, we slept on a bench, but still.
It was a good bench.
It was a nice bench.
And it was on a good
and
part of the
only a couple
airport.
of people asked me for pesos.
Yeah.
You know, and I did
one of us
bring my body over you to prevent the stabbing, but other than that, it was a really good experience.
That's right, and one of us could sleep at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
So we were good.
Yeah.
All right, so you
But
ready?
at least it didn't happen in El Salvador,
Well,
except that when we drove through Guatemala, that was kind of scary.
Well, there was a lot of that trip that was very scary, my dear.
Yeah, that was a little scary.
And into Honduras was scary.
Yeah, I know.
The guy said, stay in the car
Okay,
and
on to your story.
duck down so no one can see you,
Yeah.
so they don't try to extort us for money.
Yeah, well, that was when we were actually close to Nicaragua. Remember that?
All of that was all. Anyway, on to my stories.
Travel with Stu.
Yeah, well, let's Stewart, not just Stew. Stew is not
Well, they call me Grandpa Stu in the East Coast.
the art of stewing, which we want to
Okay,
make
back to your
into
story.
good
Oh, look,
things.
you want me to talk about it?
No.
Well, you better
So
get
my
going. We gotta
stuff
hurry up
was-
today. Let's
yeah,
go.
because you took all
Move it.
the-
Let's go, people. Let's go.
You took all the time, and I have the best stories.
We'll see.
Starts off with Sarah Palin.
What?
Now, we have not heard about Sarah Palin for a long time.
And this with a good reason.
There's a reason. But listen to this. Apparently, and I wonder if you knew this or not.
I know everything.
No, you don't. There were leaked images of hundreds of undocumented, unaccompanied minors warehoused in crowded federal cells. Did you know that?
How would I know that?
Well, you should know that. Apparently, since October 1, approximately 48,000 unaccompanied children have been captured crossing the border.
Oh, I have heard of that.
A 92% increase from the same period last year. So, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security is flying them to a warehouse in Nogales, Arizona from the Rio Grande Valley in Texas in May.
I hope it's business class.
But why don't they just send them home? Why are they sending them
Because they don't know where their home
Arizona?
is. Some of them don't have their parents. They can't just, ship them across the border again.
But this is a strange thing. First of all, I say roughly 48,000 have come into the country since October.
Unaccompanied.
Unaccompanied. Now they're saying that the holding facility is housing 700 children, and that figure was expected to double to around 1,400. So how did we get from 48,000 down to 1,400, 700? What happened to the rest of those children?
They probably ate them.
It's possible. It says, while a large number of children were attempting to reunite with parents already in the U.S. illegally, many were seeking to escape widespread crime and poverty across Central America.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
These were unaccompanied children?
Yes.
What kind of parents would just let their kids, oh, okay, go walk to America?
Well, and the parents some of them are here already, they said, so they left their kids.
So you know what? They should not be sent back to their parents, because obviously their parents are not caring for them.
But the point still is, where did we go from 48,000 down to 1,400 or 700? What happened to the rest of those kids? She calls herself, Palin, quote, a bleeding heart, compassionate woman and mother, but she concluded that the primary expenditure that should be supplied to those suffering in this humanitarian crisis should be, quote, jet fuel back to their home countries. So none of this makes sense. If we have
So she wants to ship them back?
She wants to ship them back. But first of all, I didn't know that there were holding facilities down there for children specifically.
Well,
I didn't know that 48,000 had crossed. I didn't know that this facility only holds 1,400, and I still don't know what happened to the difference between 48,000 children and these 1,400.
I was wondering, can Palin see Mexico from her house?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because now she doesn't live in Alaska anymore. She was, I think, in Arizona.
Does she? I don't know.
No.
Anyway.
But maybe she can't see Mexico.
So lots of interesting things happening here. So keep your eye out, because we don't know what's happening to these children.
I'll keep my eye out because I can't see as it is.
The truth behind the Malibu underwater alien base. Have you heard of this?
Actually, I heard of the alien base in the Santa Catalina Islands.
Okay, well this one is
off the coast of Malibu.
Okay, this might be the same one. A little more than 6 miles off the coast.
There you go.
Of Point Dume in Malibu, California. Now,
Dume.
Dume. An unusual looking structure sits on the seabed floor. Based on images obtained on Google Earth, the oval-shaped object has a huge flat top and what appears to be pillars or columns that seem to reveal the entrance to a darker inner place. Approximately 2,000 feet below the surface, listen to this one, measuring nearly 3 miles wide.
Wow, that's a
now
big
you
base.
have talked about all the shelf and about the submarines and things that go underneath. That's right. Now they called in a whole bunch of experts at Google Earth to try and figure it out, and basically they're all saying, "Oh, it's all natural. It's not it's not artificial."
Absolutely.
Similar to the Bosnian pyramids, which
Right,
they're saying
they're
that's
just
also
natural.
just natural.
Yeah.
So I want to
So
bring
like
that
the face on Mars too.
natural. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind as we move along, because I told you we're going to continue to get stories about what's under the earth. Now this one also was of interest to me. A German researcher, Johann Westhauser.
Ooh, that was pretty good.
I know. Was brought to the surface, and he had been lost in the cave for 2 weeks.
A cave for 2 weeks?
Now here's interesting things. Now he was brought to the surface on Thursday at 11:44 a.m. local time, or 9:44 UTC. Why do we need to know specifically the time? He was lost for 2 weeks underground in Germany's deepest cave. A medical station was set up so when he was brought out, he could receive medical attention. Okay, that I understand. However, rescuers from Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and Italy have helped in the complicated rescue.
He must have been very important.
Or the mission was extremely important, because listen to this. This cave system, it says, was, it's called Reisingding. Is that how you say that?
Reisingding.
Which literally translates to as massive thing.
Ooh.
It was discovered in 1995.
That's it?
That's what they're claiming. During surveying work, and is Germany's deepest and largest cave system. It boasts a 19.2 kilometer long network of paths extending 1,148 meters below ground.
Holy canolas. I thought the deepest cave system was in Angela Merkel.
Well, apparently here,
Yeah.
it's all connected.
That's what I would
So what were they doing under there? Now they claim that there was a rock slide and that he was hurt in the rock slide, and 2 of his compatriots managed to escape without any problem.
Maybe they pushed him and ran.
But they spent 2 weeks to get him out. So to me, this sounds like it had to be a very important mission. Why did the other 2 get out? Why did they leave him behind? You never go off and leave an injured colleague behind. One at least would stay. I don't know exactly what was happening, but something was happening there that we were not told about. This was, anyway, this cave system is in the Alps near the Austrian border, in case any of you want to go.
And get lost.
Now, speaking of underground, this was interesting. It really is like one of those things out of the blue, but caught my attention. So I always read things because there's something in that frequency I need to know.
Go ahead.
This happens to be the article starts about CrossFit, which you know is one of the latest exercise crazes.
I have a son that has a CrossFit gym.
That's right, and there's a lot of controversy around it. Well, this man was going to explore what CrossFit is. So this is what he says, and this is the interesting part of the article. It says, quote, "When I describe to my roommate what happens during a CrossFit session, I just come home at 6:30 in the morning, scarlet-faced and drenched in sweat, feeling like I had grown a second reptilian skin."
You mean he had a first one?
I just thought that was so strange.
He had a second reptilian, means he had a first one.
But why, how does this apply to CrossFit? And the interesting thing about this is, I read the whole article, which was actually lengthy. There was no other reference to reptilian. Why did this come out? I don't know. And this one I wanted to ask you, you've seen in the UK now, they're putting all those spikes out for homeless people. You know, I showed you about that.
Yeah. That's terrible.
Well, anyway. but the interest, this is just, it's a strange thing. So, you know, and I always look for these trends. Well, as I was researching actually this article, there was an advertisement that came up, and it's I can't remember the name of the model. Might have been Cheryl Teague, I'm not sure, but somebody, you know, that somebody would recognize. She was holding a shoe, and the shoe had a mouth like a reptilian. And the shoe was silver with those same spikes all over her shoe that they're showing us from all over the UK. And so anyway, it was for Dr. Scholl's foot cushions. So you're supposed to use Dr. Scholl's foot cushions to tame the reptilian in your shoe. So then they showed her with all different kinds of shoes with all kinds of reptilian mouths, and her talking to them in the reptilian mouth going away, and going back to the silver one with the spikes exactly like what we had seen in the UK. What do you think that's about? Spikes things. I mean, remember the spikes on dog collars? I was thinking about that. Where have we seen these spikes before? And now they're doing it to homeless people. They're doing it to shoes. It was like
well, it's kind of like a militaristic
imprinting of some kind, something. But watch for it. Tell me. Let me know again, like he's asking. If you see these spikes anywhere else, tell me, because I'm curious to see where this is going. Okay. Now we had talked to you before about a faded fragment of papyrus that claimed that Jesus said his wife.
Yeah, I did that report, didn't I?
We might have both done it because it's been out there for a while. This was actually found in 2012, supposedly. Now, apparently, the testing has been completed at Columbia and MIT, and they're saying that it is actually ancient, not a modern forgery. And on the papyrus, Jesus says, quote, my wife, unquote.
Yeah.
And it also says, quote, she can be my disciple.
Yeah.
Unquote.
I did that already.
Okay, now the discussion is going around. First of all, saying, did Jesus have a wife? Was Jesus married? Can disciples be women? And also it mentions in this article that these same questions were asked back in the 14th century. That I had not heard before. So again, they're taking the old and they're coloring it differently for you. Yeah. They're preparing you for things. Now we're moving along. We've seen the megachurch.
Yeah, but if Jesus was married, that's going to really put a crimp in all the nuns because they're supposed to be married to him.
Well, I suppose they're going to have to get...
That's going to be quite a law case.
Instead of a nun, they're going to have to be a someone, I guess.
Seriously, that's like adultery.
I guess. Now listen to this. You've heard about the mega church. Now they're calling these micro churches. And again, this was interesting to me because they're talking about 30 people who meet together for dinner. And because they do it often, they're going to have to get a church, a building.
We should have a church.
So,
Church of Stew.
Again, what my point on this is like the thing you talked about, Russia. You know, we have big things, now we have all the small things, we're breaking it apart so we can bring it together. So we have the mega church, we're going to break that apart, have micro churches, then we're going to bring it back together in a new and different way.
They should have micro beer in the micro church.
They probably do at their micro dinners. Now, here's another one onto religion. Frank Schaeffer, have you heard that name before?
Maybe.
He is a former evangelical leader. Listen, get this. He's a self-declared atheist who believes in God.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. He's gone from steeped in the blood Christian to vocal non-believer, from Christian conservative to liberal Democrat, from Hollywood director to novelist, from angry young man to slightly less angry older man. Chronicled in 2 bestsellers, Crazy for God and Sex, Mom, and God.
Sounds a little unstable to me.
Then, he once flew around in Jerry Falwell's private plane, was a regular on the 700 Club, and helped link Republican ideology to the pro-life movement. And of course he sees that as a terrible mistake. And basically he says, and this again, he just says it so blandly, it's like, does he really believe this? But this is what he says. When an abortion doctor gets shot, there is a direct line from that bullet to what we did in the 80s. When a gay person gets beat up in an alley, there is a direct link to what we did then. I am very sorry about that.
So he's sorry about all that stuff.
That's what he's claiming. But moving along, he says, this is the title of his book, Why I Am an Atheist Who Believes in God.
Why I am a vegetarian who eats meat.
Yeah, I wanted you to understand the background because of where this is going. That you remember, if they put somebody in front of the public, there's always a reason. Okay, he spells it out in the subtitle, How to Give Love, Create Beauty, and Find Peace. And he fired his agent of 12 years and published it on his own. And he will appear in Hot Springs, North Carolina, at the Wild Goose Festival, which it says is like a Burning Man for the religiously liberal
I think
crowd.
He fits in there. That's good.
Now here's the thing of the article, the main point. This is a quote, one of my aims is to unhook them from allegiance to the Bible as something they follow instead of their conscience or ironically the example of Jesus. Okay, this is what he's taking to this religiously liberal crowd. Quote, that's the choice you have to make if you're going to be a humanist Christian. I want to introduce younger evangelicals to the idea that they have to recalibrate their loyalty. They can live by the Bible or live by Jesus, but they can't do both.
So he's saying Jesus is different than what's in the Bible.
That's what he's claiming.
That's true.
But we're going to find out where this is going because he has a big background. He's going to, he has a big audience. Where is he going to take them? So watch this person. Watch what happens.
Well, maybe he's going to become a Muslim who is also Christian.
That's possible too. We don't know these days.
And he'll be a white person who's black.
That could be too. We don't know. Everything is possible. Now, the next thing that is big in the news these days is the word rape. Remember, I've been telling you that watch the buzzwords. So there was a social experiment in India to see how passersby reacted to stage rape in India, because that's where a lot of women are being gang raped. And so they talked about how that, there was a van with a pre-recorded track of a woman screaming. Some people tried to intervene. Some people walked by.
That's awful.
Isn't that awful?
That's really mean.
It's awful. So this was the first. This was in India. It's a social experiment. I have the link if you want to watch it. But following on the heels of that, or maybe it's vice versa, we have John Kerry, of course, the U.S. Secretary of State, who joins who else but Angelina Jolie.
Oh, well then it has to be good.
It has to be good. Calls the end of use of rape in war. Now in war...
How about everywhere else?
Well, yeah, that's the point. I mean, it's crazy. They had a 4-day summit about this. Now, obviously this is something that should not be happening, so why do we need a 4-day summit on it? And...
so that Angelina can show off her lips
and her non-mastectomies that she had. It says up to 1,200 government ministers, officials, lawyers, activists, and survivors from over 120 countries attended the summit, which agreed to set a new set of international guidelines on how to investigate sex crimes, collect evidence, and prosecute, and end the cycle of violence. Now, of the U.S. government and its allies. Now, isn't that a crazy thing to do? 4 days, all these people, how much would that have cost? And listen to this. This also gets me. Recent shocking cases of violence against women, including the kidnap of 200 Nigerian girls.
300, actually.
What happened to that? Remember, the U.S. was going to send troops, and people were going to... What happened to these 200 Nigerian girls?
It's not important right now.
And if you remember, Good Luck Jonathan's wife...
Good Luck, I love that name. President Good Luck Jonathan.
She claimed this never happened. And they silenced her, and we've not heard anything more about this.
So she wasn't such good luck for him.
So rape is a buzzword out there going on right now, and something else is going to be happening, so we'll continue to watch this scenario. Okay, now, on to food.
Ooh, I'm hungry.
Okay, super bananas, there's claiming.
What's a story about me?
May save millions of lives in Africa, because in Australia, medical researchers are creating a new kind of superfood, which is a genetically engineered banana.
Because we don't have that already.
That's right, and it's going to save the lives of millions in Africa. But get this, it's on its way to the U.S. for human trials.
Yeah, let's test it in the Americans.
Yeah. Now, what this reminded me of, some of you may not be old enough, but when I was a kid growing up, there were all kinds of ads to send wheat and dried milk to Africa.
The Africans, right.
And most black people are gluten intolerant and lactose intolerant. Correct. And cannot handle it.
So wasn't that good for them?
So now they're going to send the bananas, apparently.
Yeah, really? Because
they have alpha and beta carotene, which will, the super ones, which will reduce vitamin A deficiency.
Why don't they just give them a vitamin?
And they want to start growing them in Uganda by 2020.
Oh, Uganda's going to be a really good place to grow that.
But now this was what's interesting to me, because I just received in the mail yesterday our very own edition of the National Geographic magazine.
Ooh.
And they're calling Africa the new breadbasket of the world.
Well, they can grow a lot of stuff there.
They have farms there that, believe it or not, are 25,000 acres of soybeans.
Soybeans.
I'm telling you that they're changing it, and I told you when they did Prince William's birthday party, however many years ago, this 21st party, that they're giving that continent to Africa. Well, they're trying to dry up the U.S., as you're talking about, and they're trying to recreate a lot of things in Africa. They're displacing people, they're making promises that aren't happening, they're going and taking their people's lands. And this also I found interesting in this article, it says there are 20 million Chinese in Africa.
You know, when I was in Africa, they were all over the place.
Yeah.
They're on every airplane, everywhere, the Chinese.
So there are a lot of countries already.
And Africans really don't care for
But they are they're investing a lot of money in Africa that they're not telling you about. So this article is kind of telling the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion. So as they're going to take down the North American continent, they're going to build up Africa, and Prince William's going to be happy with his investment. Now there is a Texas supermarket accused of selling pizzle, as human food.
Do I want to know what this is?
Pizzle actually is the zoological anatomy word for the penis of a bull or other animals.
Honestly, Jen.
So,
can you ever do a podcast without a penis story? Is
no,
it possible?
It's in your honor, my dear.
Oh my God.
Okay, so the reason that this is interesting is because the suit, there's now a lawsuit, of course, for $5,000, which really isn't that much compared to what can go on out there. That the manager and some employees took pizzle from boxes labeled inedible beef, not intended for human food, repackaged it for consumer consumption, and then added wording to the relabeled product stating that the meat was inspected from a registered source. Now, why would anybody do that?
I have a question. You were a dairy farmer.
Yes.
You knew about cows and bulls.
Right.
Is that a word?
Yes, it's a...
That is a word that...
Well, we wouldn't have used that word, but that is a correct scientific word.
It
yes,
is?
Pizzle, yes.
I never heard of it.
Well, because you weren't going in the right places. But now listen to this. This is what I think why it's being brought out.
It's a bull penis.
Because it's considered an aphrodisiac in some cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why, because they're now going to make people want to eat that.
Yeah.
But listen, they have to add this in. In the U.S., it's more commonly used to make glue and in chew toys for dogs.
Well,
so people might be out there chewing on the chew toys for dogs, so that they can get that aphrodisiac high.
They want to get some sizzle in their pizzle.
But I think that's the reason. So there's a reason why they put these words out, and that's why I try and show you what's going on out there in the world, so you can make some of your own conclusions.
Maybe if I'm here for your August seminar,
Yeah.
I can show people about my super bananas and pizzle.
You want people to come, or you're going to try to chase them away?
Well, it's encouragement, I think.
For who?
I just said I'm going to talk about
You just said you're going to show them.
Yeah, I'm going to show about
Go ahead.
super bananas and pizzles.
And you said, quote, if I shall quote you,
I might even wear my man thong, or what do they call it?
It's a half thong.
What do they call that thing?
The half? Oh, the thing goes over?
Yeah.
That's a uni, I think. I think that's a one
name
piece.
for it, though.
You could one day model your uni and one day model your half thong.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really think it's going to chase people away. I don't think we should do
I
it.
want people right in about that.
Yeah. What do you want to see, Stewart and his stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, it ain't pretty. Sorry. Anyway.
Excuse me, Miss Iceberg.
Anyway, on to our next events. We have in August communication, color, tone, and archetype, because we communicate so well together, as you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's in August. Please sign up for that, because it is a very...
It's a super pizzle.
Nice group that is coming, and it is a lot of personal attention that we give and our August seminar. So we're excited about that. And we have a change coming to our October seminar, if I am correct.
Oh, well, did we decide that?
Kind of. Should we announce it or wait?
Well, you could announce it.
Okay. Well, anyways,
Does it involve a penis?
if you're there, yes. Unless you don't have something that you want to tell me.
I'll just show you.
Otherwise, I think it does involve a penis. All right. Anyway, right now it's called Everything Oversoul, so we're going to expand on that agenda because of all the research that's been coming to us lately. We want to be sure and give this research out to you in a timely fashion. So, at this point, it's either Everything Oversoul and the Alien Agenda.
The Alien Agenda, because I got a lot of info on that one.
Yeah, and it keeps coming together, and it just, it's like we can't ignore it.
We can't wait. We have to do it.
Yeah, and so we've thought about putting in a special one, but I think since this one's already out there, that we're just going to
add to it.
Add to it. We're going to bump it up a notch, so to speak. So,
get some pizzle in it.
Everything Oversoul and the Alien Agenda for our October annual conference. It will be stellar.
And you know, when the aliens mutilate animals, they do take the pizzle and the super banana.
There's a reason.
Yeah, there's
you
a
can
reason.
tell them.
Yeah, I think it's all related.
Well, it could be. You'll tell them. Of course, January 2015, believe it or not, is right around the corner.
It is?
It is.
Because summer just started here.
6 months away, it's not that far if you're making plans. And we already, believe it or not, have people signing up for our January 2015 class. It's becoming extremely popular. For those of you who want more Oversoul hyperspace work, again, it's an opportunity for you to get lots of personal attention and direction in your life and set you up for the next years of your life. It's good.
Especially when they're trapped here because of the snow.
Yeah, well, last year, everything always works out perfectly.
Yeah,
so
we had a lot of snow last year with that.
Yeah, but they weren't trapped. Okay, so with that, is there anything else you need to add?
Yes, but you won't like it.
Does that ever stopped you before?
Well, only when you hurt me afterwards.
Well, that hasn't stopped you, my dear. You still do whatever you want.
I know, kind of like when you do that.
You're learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Doing what you're supposed to do, not what you want to do.
Blah, blah. Anyway, I guess that's it for today.
I guess that's it.
Because we're in a hurry.
We are in a hurry.
Yeah, we have a lot to do today.
I have a big day. I hope you have a big day, a good week, a good summer.
Yeah, hope you... hope you have...
He's afraid I'll hit him later, that's why.
you hit me anyway.
I can hit you right here on camera.
What's the difference? You did hit me on camera last
time.
Yes, you did, and I told people to report you.
You did today?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, I hope you enjoy your week. Whatever. Enjoy your pizzle, your super bananas, whatever, and we'll see you next time. Bye.